today's episode of The Unwritten Rule. I apologize for the fact that it looks like a bunker where I'm recording this intro. I'm moving, so all the stuff's off my walls, but there will be a new Mizzou setup soon. Anyway, personal note aside, got a good show. We talked about the new men's basketball assistant coach, Rob Summers, getting hired, and then Kenny and Peyton talked about the Matt Zollers commitment. Recording this intro here Thursday morning. They're going to dive in and talk after Zollers commits on Thursday afternoon. So I don't know yet when I'm recording this if he's committed to Missouri. There was a future cast put in for him on 3. Also seems to think he's trending in the right direction. So you're going to hear Kenny and Peyton break that down one way or another for Zollers. So we will have that, but that's why we didn't lead the show with it, because we recorded the segment about Summers on Wednesday a little bit earlier. And then we talked about Zollers because we wanted to wait until he committed in order to talk about him, because we wanted to know if he'll be a Tiger, but seems to be trending pretty good. Hopefully I didn't just jinx it here in the next few hours. But yeah, you'll have a breakdown on Zollers, and then we have a great interview. Kenny and Peyton talked to Adam Ryerson, formerly of the Columbia Missourian, worked on the football beat. He talks some Mizzou NFL draft stuff, as well as he's got some good stuff about James Madison, the wide receiver signee for the 2024 class. So we had a great interview with Adam. So good show, great Mizzou segment to dive into. Like I said, Rob Summers, where Matt Zollers is going. Hopefully it's to Mizzou. And Kenny and Peyton had a breakdown for you. And then, of course, the interview with Adam. And then we had Jerseys of the Week, Sean East Mainbirds, and the best things we learned. Me and Peyton just did that. Kenny wasn't around Wednesday, but me and Peyton had his quick hits for him. So great show to dive in here for you guys to start out your Final Four weekend. And speaking of the Final Four, the Unwritten Rule here is presented by Bet Online. We're down to the Final Four. It's the last 4 teams, and Bet Online has been your tournament bracket headquarters all March long. And now that we're almost down to the finals, still got plenty more in store. Plus, MLB is here, and the NBA and NHL playoffs are right around the corner. So plenty of sports, and as always, Bet Online is your number one source for all of that and all your summer sports wagerings. Head to Bet Online today to stay updated on all the action. And remember to use our promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV, BELIEVE, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. I know we have a skeleton sort of show here for you guys this week and weekend, but we got it all. We talked about Summers, we talked about Zollers, had the great interview with Adam. So tons of great stuff to dive into. And I'll get off the screen right now. I'll kick it to Peyton and myself doing Summers, Kenny and Peyton talking about Zollers, and then Peyton and Kenny and Peyton talking to Adam Ryerson, and then quick hits. Great little skeleton show for you, but we got it all covered, and the Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to the Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, April 5th, and Mizzou men's basketball has its latest assistant coach. Like I said in the intro, if you skip through it, we're going to get to Zollers. Kenny and Peyton talked about that. We're recording the first part of the show on Wednesday. We'll get to that they're going to record the rest of that on Thursday. That's when Zollers commits. They'll have a breakdown one way or the other if Zollers commits or not. But that's why we're starting, like I said, with the news we do know on this Wednesday at least. You're all hearing this on Friday. But yes, Missouri hired Rob Summers as an assistant coach to join Dennis Gates on the sidelines. Summers was most recently the assistant head coach at Miami. He also spent a couple of seasons with Dennis at Cleveland State. He was part of the staff that went to the NCAA tournament in 2021, won the Horizon League. He also was a pretty good player. Played for West Virginia and Penn State. He's like a 7-foot center. I know the thing I read said he's primarily going to work with the forwards. So guys like Jordan Butler and Peyton Marshall, some of the younger players there, even Trent Pierce maybe to some extent as well. Some of these younger bigs are getting some pretty good experience here. And Rob Summers, Peyton, what are your thoughts on him? Missouri's getting their latest addition here on the sidelines.
Yeah, new assistant. Post play has obviously been a very major weak point. Something people have really wanted to see improvement out of, particularly from centers. So anyone that's got experience working with big men is surely a welcome sight. I mean, that was a big point of emphasis in Mizzou's like graphic announcing him, was that he did great work with a lot of post players, and that includes Anderson Mirambeau. I hope I'm saying that right. It's French. Or like Cajun, because you can see the bow at the end is spelled Baux. He was a big man for Miami, Ohio, that took home all conference accolades in both of his seasons on campus. He also got like rave reviews from like some pretty big names. John Bellion, the former Michigan head coach. He was also Beeline. Sorry, I don't know why Bellion is
the artist.
Yeah. I don't even listen to him, but I know the name. Mike Gansey, the general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Bob Huggins, the disgraced head coach of West Virginia at this point. But, I mean, he was undeniably a legend while he was in the game. And, I mean, Summers was a former player for him, I believe. And then there's Joe Mazzulla, the current head coach of the Boston Celtics. All gave him rave reviews. You can find that. Missouri tweeted the press release 21 hours ago. So you can find all those pretty long quotes. The one that stuck out to me was Huggins. He said, "Rob is a very intelligent coach. He does a great job relating and connecting with young men. Everyone around him almost immediately feels a great connection to his genuine character. He is very skilled in on-court development of student athletes and will be a great addition to the Mizzou program and the community of Columbia." Very welcome stuff that you want to hear for development purposes, because Mizzou's big men need some seasoning because it was not a good group last year. That's undeniable. So hopefully he can get the most out of them. We'll see what happens. It seems like a pretty encouraging hire.
Yeah, he's been at, in addition to Cleveland State and obviously Miami of Ohio, he was also so he started at Glenville State, which I think is a D2 school, had 2 different stints at James Madison, was an assistant there in 2017, and then was also the head coach at a Division II school, Urbana, which is in Ohio. So there's just a little bit more of his background. But yeah, Peyton, I think you hit it on the nose with, he seems like he has some good reviews. I think him and Joe Mazzulla played together on those West Virginia teams for Huggins. I think that's where their connection is, because Mazzulla was on that one West Virginia team. That was a weird, like he had like a crazy March Madness game for West Virginia. And now he's like the coach of the Celtics, which just, I don't know, that made me feel old because that wasn't that long ago. But yeah, had a successful playing career. He was at Penn State. They went to the Sweet 16. That's where I think he was with Missoula, won the NIT. So he's a winner. Obviously Dennis knows him from the time with Cleveland State where he won there as well. Going to work with the big men, I think, is another key thing. The other thing I forgot, Peyton, and I actually didn't realize this, so maybe other people might not know this either. I forgot that it's expanded now where basketball you can have 5 assistant coaches. And now with Summers in has their 5th guy. So on the sideline with Dennis now, it's C.Y. Young, Kyle Smith-Peters, who are the usual. People remember them from, they were the main assistants hired when Dennis came in. Dickie Nutt's going to go to like an administrative role, obviously still in that battle with cancer, and hopefully he gets through that. But so it's C.Y. Young, Kyle Smith-Peters, now Rob Summers, Matt Klein, and then Ryan Sharbaugh are the 5 assistants for Missouri. So some pretty good company to keep, Peyton, especially if you're you don't want to, if you're not to lose, hopefully CY, which he's been linked to jobs ever since last season.
And I believe it's like 3 on court or like 3. So there's something with 3, and he's like the 3rd, like really, like he's the 3rd main assistant coach along with Smith-Peters and Young.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I guess, it's like 2. They have 2 more background guys, but I think it's like now you can have technically 5 assistants, which I just forgot. So you can run, or so, now Mizzou has its staff full, technically with Rob Summers in. So pretty good hire, I think. We'll obviously see how it goes. I think CY and, there were some moments last year where the assistants were really helpful, or 2 seasons ago, I guess now. Last year, no one was really that helpful, but
nothing was
Rob
good.
Summers, Rob Summers comes in. the other piece of news, Peyton, transfer portal wise, a couple of guys here to watch. There's a couple names on short list, but the main one we want to talk about, Tony Perkins, the guy from Iowa. I think we've mentioned him on here, but he is in Mizzou's, Mizzou is in his rather top 6. What are your thoughts on the guard out of Iowa?
Yeah, we talked about him pretty extensively last time he was in the news. He visited Mizzou. I believe that was just last weekend, actually, or this past weekend, rather. So there's obviously very big interest here. It seems like the two main hitters here are Mizzou, because he did visit, and Indiana. Indiana also seems to have some buzz for him. So we'll see how it turns out. I'm not sure. It seems like Indiana fans think they're going to get him. But I mean, I haven't seen anything on him visiting there. He could come in, and we talked about this, like he can play the 1, but he seems like a guy that they could maybe have really play both guard spots, and they may still target another like true point guard. So we'll see how it all shakes out. This would be a good one to get in the fold, though, because Missouri just needs guys right now.
Yeah, it's I mean, Indiana's interesting because it's like, you'd stay in the Big Ten and, whatever, if he's interested in still staying in that league. But yeah, Mizzou seems like they're a contender. Also, we were shouting out, I liked this graphic. This is the one I pulled up with the random lion right there in the middle.
No point for that. Just there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a lion, Peyton. You're bringing in a lion, but yeah,
Right.
he's a he's a name to watch. A couple of other names just on a short list. Just today we had a Sebastian Thomas, who's a guard from Albany. Mizzou made the short list for him, and then Adou Thiero, which is a name SEC fans will know, out of Kentucky. Mizzou's just on the short list. Peyton, I know you're not super bullish on until a top 6 or something like that comes out. But you were looking at Thomas on Torvik, seemed pretty intrigued by him, and Thiero as well. Again, good names to be linked to.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, he looks interesting. I mean, you got the two teams that reach out to everyone in Arkansas and Missouri, although Arkansas won't be on that list much longer, and we'll talk about why.
Stay for quick hits.
Yeah, I kind of like looking at that offer list. It kind of spooks me a little. Just not really. I don't really think Missouri should be going after the same guys as Utah State, Fordham, Indiana State, and Hofstra. Georgia's in there too, but this one feels like you just put feelers out. You don't really go further than that, to me.
Yeah, and then this list for Thiero, a lot longer. He's
very long rap sheet there. I mean, pretty much everyone under the sun. Sorry.
Oh my God. Hit a cough button. Get a cough button.
I don't have a cough button. It's not that professional. But as people know, I'm still suffering from a cough. Thiero's very interesting because it seemed like he was like starting to develop at Kentucky. Now maybe just looking for more playing time. Certainly would be, like I said, Mizzou just needs guys. I don't know enough about Thiero right now. I'd have to do research, but everyone seems to want this guy. I mean, you saw some of the names on that list. That included Arizona. So certainly someone to keep an eye on. Missouri, we'll see if they can keep themselves in this race, or if, again, they're just one of the teams that reach out and then don't do anything with most of the guys.
Yeah, one of those that, like this says, he could be. I mean, this is Jeff Borzello. He's a reliable source. Could be a first-round pick in the 2025 draft. So yeah, that would be a lot more heavy hitters, like Peyton said, than the Albany guy. But these are just lists right now. We don't know whether or not Mizzou's really in the mix yet. But they are reaching out to everybody, and I think that's exactly what you want to see after a team goes 0-18 is reloading and bring some of the talent. Oh, Peyton, I also wanted to ask you this. Did you listen to Gabe DeArmond of Power Mizzou's interview with Jacob Cruz?
I have not yet. I need to listen to that, but I saw he said it was one of his best interviews.
Yeah, I would encourage. I'll just give a wrap. I don't want to reveal everything because everyone should go listen to the interview with Gabe. But it is a fantastic interview. Jacob Cruz He's a pro. I mean, the guy's a professional. He's got he seems like a great head on his shoulders. I think, he's gonna come in. He's worked for this. I was really impressed by how he carried himself in that interview. So I would go listen to it. Obviously a great player as well at UT Martin, has been through the ringer of college basketball, played JUCO, went to North Florida first. He's been everywhere. So has definitely earned his stripes and earned his chance here with Mizzou. So I'm excited about Jacob Cruz. That's what I'll end things on. But go listen to that interview with Gabe if you haven't. It was a good one, like he said. So with that, we'll kick it to the reveal, Peyton. You and Kenny discussing the commitment of Matt Zollers one way or another. Crystal ball, as we record on this Wednesday, before we kick it to what he actually committed to. What are you thinking, Peyton? I'm going Missouri. He's going to pick Missouri.
It certainly feels like Missouri has gotten a ton of buzz. I know somebody at Penn State, one of the Penn State sites, said like Missouri's war chest, which I guess means their NIL package, could be pretty tough to beat. Which, again, that lines up with what a lot of people have been realizing. Missouri is doing very well for itself NIL-wise, and it's kind of really helped Missouri maybe be a relevant program in the football world. But I don't know. We'll see. Georgia also has a good amount of buzz. Georgia also has the benefit of being that last visit. If I had to guess right now, I guess I'd say Missouri, but I don't really know. We'll see what happens.
All right, we'll see what everyone's gonna know. I guess when you already listen to this, but we'll kick it to in a few seconds. It's like we're doing the commitment. We're not having Matt Zollers on the show to pick. Unfortunately, we're not that big yet. Also, I feel like if he wanted to come on a Mizzou show to pick where he's going to go to school, I feel like that would just about answer the question.
Telegraphed.
So that was stupid. But anyway, here's Kenny and Peyton breaking down Zollers' decision.
All right, cutting in here now from our regular talk with the three of us. It's now just Peyton and I. Wasn't in that last segment, but we're cutting in now for some pretty big news on the Mizzou recruiting front. Matt Zollers, four-star quarterback out of Pennsylvania in the class of 2025, has verbally committed to the Tigers here on Thursday. Peyton, honestly, at this point, didn't really come as a surprise to us when we first heard Matt Zollers' name a couple weeks, maybe months ago now. We've been talking about him sporadically when any updates came on the recruiting front with him. We were a little bit surprised, but I think at this point, once the commitment happened, and we saw a lot of the buzz coming in the last couple of days, this was really no surprise to see him choose the Tigers.
Yeah, I got my prediction right. Knowlton and I both did. Knowlton put us both on the spot and said we got to make a pick. And yesterday, when we recorded on Wednesday, it still kind of looked like a bit of a coin flip between Mizzou and Georgia. Very interestingly, the two in-state schools were really not much of a factor at the end. I went with Missouri just because felt like things were trending that way. Like you mentioned, we thought this was such an interesting recruitment because nobody on the staff has ties to Pennsylvania or that region. Drinkwitz famously got in a little bit of hot water when he mentioned the recruiting in the great state of Massachusetts. He didn't mean anything by it. He just meant we don't recruit up there. So that must really mean they felt really convinced that Matt Zollers is going to be something very, very good. I believe it was Kirby Moore who has been kind of the primary recruiter. I think Zollers mentioned him in his actual commitment presser. Yeah, recruited by Kirby Moore, as you can see there on Rivals. Yeah, I mean, it kind of this morning, like on Thursday morning, Wilt Fong at On3 put in a prediction for Zollers to Mizzou. I know a lot of the Penn State people were convinced he was going to go to Mizzou. Georgia fans didn't really know for sure. As you see there were two Rivals future casts for him to go to Mizzou this morning. So it kind of seemed elementary by the time they did it. Matt Zollers didn't really draw it out. He got up there. They played a short and sweet video that ended with MIZ. He just put on a hoodie. No hat takeout, nothing like that. Just short, sweet, simple. That's what you like. This kid's got a good head on his shoulders. But and we'll get into it more, but obviously a very big get for them. again, the fact that they went into a place they have no ties to, and absolutely outworked Penn State in their own state and Georgia, who, I mean, they speak for themselves at this point, shows that Mizzou is kind of being taken, I think, a bit more seriously now in the era of NIL. I mean, Missouri is kind of nailing the game right now. That's probably the biggest strength of this coaching staff, is that recruiting-wise, they've absolutely been up to – they're cutting edge when it comes to recruiting in this day and age, and it has paid off once again for them.
Yeah, it's good to see your head coach, taking that step in as well. Drinkwitz isn't going to lead a lot of the recruitments for some guys. He's going to leave it up to his position coaches, maybe coaches that are from that area. We look at Courtney Crutchfield's, who's he talking to? There's going to be guys on staff from Arkansas he's going to talk to, but Drinkwitz will step in and, he'll take over some of these conversations. Is like almost like an owner going in and forcing like a GM's hand to make a move. It's like, I want you in this program. I want you to continue what we're building here. And that's what he pretty much did. Him and Kirby Moore really made a big push for Matt Zollers. And last time we had a really in-depth talk about him, talking about some of those last visits. They're on here right now if you're watching on the YouTube. According to Rivals, he made that Georgia visit on the 27th back in January, but then he had some more recent ones in March and right at the end of March and into April. And we were looking at, Mizzou did have one of those first visits, but sometimes some of those last visits are really like the turning point. If he goes to Georgia, goes to Penn State as one of his final visits, how much of a swing do those teams have? Ended up being that Mizzou was like the place for him. And you kind of look at some of these other players that have come through Mizzou, like Luther Burden. Matt Zollers maybe not at the same status as Luther Burden was coming out of high school, but you tell these kids, you have an opportunity to compete for a job. You have an opportunity to compete for a job right when you step on campus. Maybe that job doesn't open for a quarterback, especially with, Glover and Brady Cook in front of them. And Brady Cook won't be here the year that when Zollers enrolls, but Glover's going to be there. Zollers can compete for that job. And that's just something you kind of tell these guys. You go to a school like Georgia, Penn State, you might be sitting behind guys for 2 or 3 years. And we've talked about this for the last 3 years now. For as long as this show's been alive, we talked about how Mizzou has these opportunities. It's just because the program is kind of on the rise from where it was these last couple of years. I wanted to compare it real quick, though, looking at the rankings. He is ranked number 9th in the state of Pennsylvania and 24th at his position. That's a pro-style quarterback, according to Rivals. He's not in the Rivals 250, though, which is kind of interesting because he does have some higher rankings elsewhere. Wanted to compare that quickly to Sam Horn, because when you think of 4-star quarterback going to Mizzou, I think Sam Horn is the first name that comes to mind, and he'll be in that competition in the next year once he's back from Tommy John surgery. But he was 72 on the Rivals 250, and he was 6th at the quarterback position coming out of Georgia as a pro-style quarterback. Looking at the On3 rankings, though, On3 gives you all of them at once. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can see it. He's a 4-star across the board, unanimous consensus 4-star by On3, 247, ESPN, and Rivals. Rivals is the only one that doesn't have him nationally ranked. That Rivals 250 was updated not that long ago. Maybe you'll see another update in the coming months, but it looks like this guy is a top guy in the nation. He's 17th is his highest ranking, and that's according to On3.
That's a very crazy discrepancy because, as you can see there, On3, 247, and ESPN, but ESPN's kind of not really looked at a whole ton. They have him in the top. They have him in the top 62, like in each, and then Rivals can't even crack him in the 250. That's interesting to me. I mean, On3 has him has the number 3 quarterback in the nation. So very interesting rankings there. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. Drink takes a QB a cycle. This seemed like one they were totally all in on. Kirby Moore kind of led the charge. He actually tweeted his own victory bat signal just a few moments ago as we're recording. So they're obviously excited about this guy. And it's like we said, I mean, and you kind of said, he'll probably be able to compete in the next couple of years for the job. He obviously won't get it his true freshman year. That's not going to happen. I think that's almost certainly a Sam Horn, Drew Pine battle. But I mean, after that, I'm not sure if Sam Horn would still have eligibility. So maybe he'd be back in that mix. But like you said, Glover will be there. Zollers will be there. There will almost certainly be another freshman in the mix. But yeah, I mean, this is really a fantastic way to start the 2025 class. Is their first commitment. Just kind of getting the ball rolling here in early April. Definitely a big statement. Mizzou didn't get a commit quite like this until, I mean, James Madison was pretty heralded. But I mean, Nwaneri was kind of the first like true blue chipper they got. And it seems like they got pretty close to another one here to start their class.
Yeah, now it's about keeping that commitment strong for Matt Zollers in this age of recruiting. We all know it. We're going to beat it to death every time we bring this up. But, NIL can pull you different ways. Coaches are not going to stop recruiting you. Mizzou just has to keep getting them on campus and prove that this 2025 class, can be better than 2024. And that was a pretty decent class for the Tigers. Mizzou always talks about, shutting down the borders, that they go a couple states away, somewhere they've never really recruited before, and grab a 4-star quarterback. So now it's just getting those weapons for the future for Zollers and the other guys that are going to be in this class. One last thing I want to talk about Zollers before we talk about some of these guys that could probably follow him in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, as more commitments trickle in for the Tigers. Tigers are a little bit later than some schools. You can look at some of the rankings. Sometimes they're like falling into the 30s. They'll start to move up once a lot of those commitments happen. But there is one thing about On3 is that, this is not even a knock on them, but they're not afraid to throw 5 stars around. And if Matt Zollers is ranked 17th nationally right now, by December, November, whenever the next on 300 update is, maybe a 5th star slips in there. Because if he's already 17th nationally heading into his senior year, I don't see, any world that, this ranking, he gets passed up or anything like that. So there is an opportunity for him to pick up that 5th star. One last thing on Matt Zollers. I know I said I'd have one more. It is Matt Zollers. Like dollars. This was kind of funny that his coach was talking on the live stream, saying some people were saying Zollers. They were also saying he was from Springfield or anything else besides Spring Ford. So I guess that's something to keep or remember in the back of your mind, because they want recognition to Spring Ford in Pennsylvania, and then it is Matt Zollers, not Matt Zollers.
You just messed it up.
I just messed it up. Yeah, I've been saying it a lot recently, and he actually got in my head because I've always said Matt Zollers. It's like dollars. He's money. Okay, Peyton, give me 3 to 4 guys that you think are really atop Mizzou's list right now, just based on what you're reading, based on the tweets we're seeing, and a lot of reports that are trickling in. Who are some of those guys that the Tigers are really after?
I mean, Boggs, the wide receiver that just decommitted from Ohio State, he tweeted the tiger emoji and nasty wideouts. So that'd be one to watch. Mizzou's had him on campus before. I think they're going to get him on campus again. That's a very hot recruitment, though. There's a lot of people after him. I trust Jacob Peeler more than anyone else on the staff, which says a lot, because I trust plenty of people on the staff to do their jobs effectively. But Jacob Peeler's a master at his job. I'm sure he can work his magic there. Jack Lang and Michael Fasusi, a pair of tackles. Jack Lang, I believe, a 4-star consensus. Fasusi, I believe, somewhere in some places is a 5-star. Both have been on campus. Lang is obviously a St. Louis guy. It seems kind of like it's going to be Mizzou or Notre Dame for him. I know the early crystal balls indicate Notre Dame, but the early crystal balls indicated Oklahoma that's a bummer looking at the Fasusi crystal balls. But the early crystal balls for Nwaneri were for Oklahoma, folks, and that obviously turned in a big way. Obviously, they're not going to get all 3 of those guys. That would just be otherworldly. Like, no programs are going to reel in every single one of their top targets, really, unless they're like the bluest of blue bloods, like an Ohio State or an Alabama or something like that. And maybe not even Alabama anymore. Who knows without Saban? But those are 3 I'd keep an eye on. I think if you can get even one, you're probably feeling pretty good, because I'm sure they'll have plenty of very good secondary targets to choose from. This is the benefit of winning. I mean, yes, you lose some coaches, as we saw, but you're much higher profile. Your NIL is apparently at the forefront of the nation, and now you have results to back it up. I mean, it's exciting times to be a Missouri Tiger fan.
That's for sure. And looking at it, guys like Michael Fasusi and Jack Lang, and there are a lot of other schools, but it's good to be in that competition. And when we talk about there's no trophies for second place, but you want to see a program like Mizzou that just won a New Year's Six Bowl continuing to get guys, especially out of state. Tigers went out of state a lot last year in the class of 2024. And it's not a bad thing to be in those conversations and be in competition for those 4 and 5 stars, especially on the offensive line. This Mizzou offensive line is coming off one of its best seasons in the last 5 years. And if you're going to, advertise that, why not go after some guys right now immediately and make some impact guys in the next 2 seasons? And Michael Fasusi looks like that guy just based on a lot of these rankings, especially with 2 5-stars in ESPN and Rivals. Peyton, I mean, anything else really on Matt Zollers or just Mizzou football moving forward?
I'm looking for the quotes he had now. I do know that he said in his press conference, a big selling point for him was that he was just most comfortable with the Mizzou staff, which that seems to be a thing we hear a lot, like just in regards to Mizzou staff. And I know obviously you're not going to go somewhere you're uncomfortable if you're a recruit, but it always seems to be like kind of a more prevalent like thing when Missouri. I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but it seems like everyone raves about the coaching staff when they first get there.
Yeah, it seems like there was a big turning point. I think maybe in like the last 2 years, Drinkwitz is. I don't know if you've noticed it, Peyton, but it feels like almost like a personality change. He got in trouble sometimes for some things he was saying, and some things were taken out of context. Now he kind of just keeps it to himself a little bit more, and he's kind of just showing, a little bit more positive things around, and maybe just showing that to the players as well that are coming on campus. He had first couple years were pretty rough when he was with the Tigers, but moving forward, it just seems like the whole staff in general is just more like of a family bond. And we saw that with Blake Baker when he left. He talked about it. This was his brother, and the next guy that comes in, he's going to treat him the same. He's going to love him and make him a priority on the staff and move forward like nothing has happened.
Right, Drinkwitz likes to talk. There's no doubt about it. He likes to chirp. And when you're winning, I love it too because it makes for some compelling watches. But no, you're absolutely right. And he even mentioned as much last year. He was like, I think it was after the media days when the NIL thing kind of got blown up out of proportion, which is ridiculous when you consider how Drinkwitz has been recruiting. He 100% knows this NIL in and out recruiting better than anyone, I would say, or just up there with anyone in the nation. But after that, he kind of, I think, did, like you said, kind of just step back and go, I got to be more reserved. He straight up said, I had to let the results do the talking because he was pulling in these great recruiting classes. But like he said, it was perennial 500 or a game below 500 because they'd lose in the bowl game. And he stepped back from a lot of things this year. He didn't call plays. He let Kirby Moore take over. He didn't go out and make headlines every single week. He only did it 1 week when he said, we stand on business, Josh. And it paid off. They went 11-2. They won a New Year's Six, and the recruiting class, they had a great portal class. I mean, they've always been able to recruit. And here's the quote that he gave to Chad Simmons at On3. He said, Zollers said, my connections at Missouri were just greater than they were anywhere else. This was a really tough decision for me to make. I ultimately decided this morning, which does kind of line up with when all the crystal balls started to pour in. So it's still early, as you can see. I mean, Mizzou's only got 1 commit. They're 14th in the conference. They ain't staying at 4 in the conference. They're going to pass up plenty of these teams. And yeah, that's basically it. I don't see how you can't be really, really chomping at the bit at the direction of this program.
Yeah. Hopefully there aren't any bigger moves on the staff in the next year or two, losing a lot of these coaches. But if Drinkwitz is still around, I think a lot of people have faith in him to bring in the right guys, especially with what he did with Baker and Moore in the last 4 years. There they are right now. Like Peyton said, according to 247, 14th. It is interesting. We talked about, the Tigers not getting a lot of commits early. I think that March, April window is when a lot of things start to pick up, and this is where the Tigers are picking it up with their first commitment in Matt Zollers. That's it. Matt Zollers, 4-star quarterback out of the state of Pennsylvania, has committed to the Tigers. Peyton, anything else just on Matt Zollers for the Tigers? And I mean, is this it?
I mean, pretty much. I mean, I wouldn't freak out about the recruiting ranking right now. It's very early April. If you remember last year, Mizzou kind of had they just slow play things out of the gate, I think, recruiting wise. If you remember, in the summer, they absolutely exploded. They got all those commits just after that big week. They're going to do something similar. They'll finish top 25 in these rankings again. No doubt in my mind, they'll be just fine.
That's it. Class of 2024 consensus 4-star quarterback. Class of 2025, excuse me. Matt Zollers, not Zollers. He's a Tiger. Tigers need to hold down that commitment moving forward, but this is a great first piece for the class of 2025 as the Tigers look to stay in the competition of a 16-team SEC field moving forward. Up next, though, we got an interview with Adam Ryerson talking all Mizzou football players heading to the, sorry about the Coca-Cola ad if you're watching on the YouTube, heading to the NFL draft with aspirations to play professionally. We'll get to that next. All right. Well, now we're joined by Adam Ryerson, a Columbia, Missourian Mizzou football beat writer. We hit the trifecta, Peyton. We've gotten all three Missourian football beat writers on the show. It took a little bit longer for Adam, but he did go on a vacation last week. We let him enjoy his spring break, enjoy his Easter break, and now he's back. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the Mizzou players on the road to the NFL. We've already had Pro Day. We've already had the Combine. But we're looking at some other guys that relative athletic scores are coming in, reports are coming in on teams they're meeting with. And no better guy to talk to than Adam, who was around these guys for 4 or 5 months straight and knows a lot about it. And we'll talk about someone on the recruiting trail that we haven't talked about in a while that Adam, we could say, is probably the aficionado of. But before we get into that, Adam, can you let everyone know where they can follow you on Twitter and where they could see your work?
Yeah, Twitter is just Adam Ryerson _. A lot of work on there. If you go to the Missourian, a lot of the football stuff, all on there. Yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me at. Thanks for having me on. I get it. Saved the best beat writer for last. No big deal. No offense, Wendell and Brandon. Definitely probably better writers than me. So all jokes, but yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you had a good Twitter game. I can respect that. Maybe you led the beat in tweets. But Adam, we'll start with one guy, someone who's a little bit unheralded on that defensive line. The last 2 seasons, played the 2022 season with the club for a couple games for either broken hand or wrist. That's Josh Landry. Transferred to Mizzou from Baylor. Had a pretty good season last year. 32 tackles, 2.5 for loss. But this report comes from Aaron Wilson that Josh Landry was invited to the Texans local prospect day. We've seen it that Josh Landry didn't go to the Combine, probably doesn't have as much hype around him to be drafted. But what do you think a team would get out of him, signing him or even drafting him late on day 3?
Well, I think it's first off really cool that he got to go to the Texans Pro Day. I mean, he is a Houston, Texas native. Or Houston, Texas native, excuse me. So, I mean, just kind of a cool story in and of itself. But Josh kind of just provided depth for a really loaded D line room this year. I mean, especially with obviously D-Rob had a fantastic season, but he was kind of able to come in the interior and just help out. They kind of had like a 4-man rotation going on. And he was able to be productive, really excelled in the run game. I think that he's a bigger body at 6'3", 287. So his ability to kind of plug space is really where he excelled. And in Blake Baker's defense at the time, the whole thing was to get the linebackers the tackles. And we saw that with like Chuck Hicks having huge games, Tyron Hopper when he was healthy having huge games. So he's really does a really good job of taking up offensive linemen and forcing the running back to get a one-on-one with a linebacker. And that's really important in a lot of NFL defenses, especially if it's going to be if he's in a 3-4 system. I think he could do a good job at the 2 technique nose guard at the 0, stuff like that. And even in a 4-3, if you put him at the 3, he's going to be able to plug a guard and leave an open tackling lane for one of the middle linebackers.
And one of those linebackers last season was, as you mentioned, Tyron Hopper. He tested pretty well. He's on a top 30 visit with the Packers, actually. That was broken this morning. What, like you mentioned, like it was kind of like the defense was kind of designed for the linebackers to kind of clean up and get the tackles. What is a team getting in Tyron Hopper in that regard?
From a pure linebacker standpoint, Tyrod Hopper is like prototypical what you want. I mean, he's explosive, he's fast, he's strong. He's just going to be a guy that is going to be able to put you in position to make plays, whether it's him making the play or him running down running back to forcing him to the boundaries, giving the secondary a chance to make a play on the outside. He's a guy that is going to be able to be an anchor of a defense if he's able to get that opportunity and improve and develop as a player. There's a lot of development that needs to come into it. And one area that he's really raw in, but he still shows a lot of talent, is actually his pass rush. So there's like several plays where you can go back and watch the film where he is just bullying offensive guards at the point of attack. He just overpowers them. He is a massive individual. I think outside of D-Rob, he's probably the most like physically like scary individual on that defense. I mean, he's just a mammoth of a man. Transfer from Florida, instant starter, instant playmaker. He's been making plays for Mizzou for years, and I think if it weren't for injuries, he would be on the top of a lot of linebacker depth or linebacker big boards. And I think that's why the Packers even are looking at him because, I mean, as a Bears fan, I keep a close eye on the NFC North. And I know that the Packers could use some help at that linebacker position. But he's a guy, I mean, he led Mizzou in tackles even with limited snap count, limited games. I mean, he's going to make tackles for you. And if he gets the opportunity to do it and develops as a player, he could be a guy that you could see getting like 80+ tackles a year.
Last season, it seemed like one of those things that he was, you talk about him being a little bit raw in different categories of his game. It seemed like there for a little bit, he was struggling with tackles at the beginning of the season, maybe missing them or just whiffing and not taking the best route to the football. I mean, what did you kind of see from him as the season progressed? And the injuries kind of slowed him at some points, but from the first game of the season until his last game of the season, what do you think like some of his biggest leaps were?
Yeah, I think honestly, a lot of it, if you look at the kind of the progression of Mizzou's season, the defense was called upon a lot, and like the offense was rightfully so credited for being much better than it was the year before. But once the offense kind of got going, the defense, you could just see them have confidence, and a lot of it, I think, came when Hopper was on the field because they knew that they had a guy in the middle who was going to be able to make plays. And in my opinion, all it was for him was gaining that confidence to know that I can be the guy to go out and make a play. I can go hit a running back in the hole, and he's not going to run me over. So I think it was just gaining that confidence. And I mean, angles were everything. And with them implementing a 3-4 defense, that was kind of where you saw a lot of the struggles. I believe it was, I'm not sure if he played in this game, but for Florida, I can't recall exactly, but you saw the Mizzou defense kind of struggling against the run game a lot after, dominating Tennessee a lot with that run game, with that 3-4 defense. So once he was able to settle into that role, though, of the true middle linebacker and giving him the ability to kind of have more freedom and go ahead and make plays maybe where he shouldn't have. Once he had that confidence to go do that, you saw leaps and bounds in his skill ability, and he was just much better than he was in the early half of the season.
Also on that defensive side, I mean, I know you talked a lot about confidence. I think two guys that never ever lacked confidence. I don't think anyone would say they would accuse them of not having it were Ennis Rakestraw and Chris Abrams-Drain. A lot of times, I mean, Blake Baker would just send the house. So Ennis Rakestraw and Chris Abrams-Drain had to be good. I mean, they were left on islands a lot of the time. What maybe do you expect from them at the NFL level, and what did you think of them last season?
Yeah, starting with what I thought of them last season, I honestly thought that they were one of the premier cornerback duos in college football. I mean, both of the guys are going to be day one or two picks. Ennis Rakestraw is like if I'm an NFL scout and I see Ennis Rakestraw play football, that's the guy that I want on my team. He is going to route receivers. His press coverage is the best part of this game. I don't know if I saw a cornerback this season who was consistently as good in press coverage as he was. He might not be the biggest guy, but he's going to be the most physical guy on the field. Bigger receivers don't really have an edge on him like they would against other guys around his stature. And he's just like, I mean, the guy loves to hit people. He has no more fun than when legalized violence on a football field is coming his way. I mean, it is just lighting people up on the line. So I think he's going to I think he's actually going to be really good in the NFL. I could see him being a late first, early second. I don't think he'll fall out of the second round. If somebody gets him in the third, that's going to be a steal. Chris Abrams-Drain is like the complete opposite. I mean, we know he started as a receiver. He played quarterback in high school. So he's one of those just athletes who can play really wherever they wanted to. And he filled a need for Mizzou at defensive back. But he's a lot quicker. I think his 40 time was like 0.2 faster or something like that. But he's basically a route technician in the secondary. He knows what you're going to run before you run it. I actually did an interview with his dad and his mom earlier in the year, and both of them said he has this innate ability to know what's going to happen. It's like he can see the future, and he can't. It's just he knows what route patterns make sense, and he understands the concept of an offense. So he's able to kind of diagnose what's coming at him from his receiver, and then off that he can play on the 2-3 receiver on the insides in the slot, and kind of know if there's going to be a drag route coming at him, if there's going to be an out, if there's going to be a corner, something like that. It's really easy for him to understand what's happening. The only downside I see for him is his size. There were some insane plays made on him this year, some crazy catches, one against Georgia. Tennessee's lone touchdown was a freakish grab on like a 40-yard pass. And he was blanket coverage on both of them, but he's just not the biggest. I think he's going to make his bread as a slot corner. I think he's going to be a nickelback. But with his speed and his ability to kind of know what's going to happen, a lot of these slot receivers are going to have a hard time getting separation off of him. And it's kind of funny because in college football, you see like nickelbacks are these big humans like that are just routing slot receivers. But in the NFL, they're a lot smaller. They need to be quick and they still need to be able to hit. And Chris Abrams-Drain can do that. So I think he's going to do really good as a nickelback. I definitely, if I were to pick one of the two, I'd rather have Rakestraw on my team, just because I think his floor is a little bit higher up. And honestly, he has a pretty high ceiling. The one thing is he didn't have a lot of interceptions, so I'd like to see some of that ball skills in the next level. Chris Abrams-Drain, I mean, he can catch a football. So,
right. Two-part question here. Adam, we've talked about, how good this defense was last year. A lot of these guys are going pro, ran out of eligibility. Who would you say is like the best returning player on the defense? And then maybe someone, maybe out of the transfer portal, just someone else that you think is going to have a breakout year for the Tigers.
Yeah. I think that I'll go with two returning players, honestly, for both of those. Dalen Carnell might be the best player on the defense next season. He had, 2 forced fumbles in the Cotton Bowl, was all over the field. I think he had at least 1 sack. He was a force at the end of the year. The pick 6 against Tennessee, I mean, the swagger on that play to look back at Joe Milton. And I've seen all the hype about Joe Milton for his arm strength.
Yeah.
Not a big Joe Milton guy. Not a big Joe Milton guy. But yeah, Dalen Carnell he's the size of a linebacker with the ability to play defensive back, who you could also put at wide receiver and just destroy people off the line of scrimmage. So I think that he's probably going to be the best player on the Mizzou defense next year, especially if they are able to kind of get him, if they're able to scheme the defense in ways that put him in the opportunity to make plays. And then breakout year, I think Johnny Walker might have a better year than D-Rob did this past year. I mean, the tandem of them two coming off of the line was phenomenal. But the improvement that you saw from Johnny Walker from week 1 to the Cotton Bowl, I think it was more than any other player on that defense. So him being able to come back and be kind of that guy on the defensive line, I think is going to give him the ability to shine in the pass rush. And I think you could see at least a double-digit sacks, 10 to even more sacks for him this next year.
A follow-up question there on that. Do you think he should have won Cotton Bowl Defensive Player of the Game? Because that's kind of a debate we've had, that the offensive MVP was Brady Cook and defensive was Johnny Walker. We didn't think either of them were going to get those awards.
Yeah, no, I think I completely agree. I think it should have been Carnell. I think he should have won Defensive Player of the Game. I mean, he was the best. He was honestly, most of the time, he was the best player on the field when he was on the field. Offensively, I mean, nobody really did much. It was kind of a
Probably say
unentertaining
Schrader.
game.
We were going Schrader on that.
Schrader was the workhorse. He's kind of was the one that got the offense rolling there. But I will say down the stretch, Brady Cook did a really good job commanding the offense, especially playing with a lead. Not a lot of people thought that they were going to have a lead in that game. And Brady Cook being able to control the offense the way he did and make big plays with his legs when he did. That's one thing that people don't really talk about the Cotton Bowl. Brady Cook was the game's third leading rusher, I believe, and he got several first downs with his legs. There were a couple times where he probably should have thrown it and he ran it. But I mean, just being able to control the clock the way he did, understanding what Ohio State was trying to do against them and figuring that out in the second half was pretty pivotal to the win. But yeah, I probably would have given it to Carnell and Schrader, but I see why they went Walker and Cook.
We were thinking Carles was going to get it because I think he had 11 tackles, one for loss and a sack. And we were like, this guy hurt. We were like, this guy made NFL money in those first 2 quarters. That's where our mind kind of went.
I want to stick with the offense for a minute because we haven't asked about that, and that might be it's probably one of the most hyped duos in the country in Luther Burden and Brady Cook. I mean, was there any kind of indication before that Kansas State game that the offense might be able to take a huge step like it did? Because I remember after that Middle Tennessee State game, I mean, people were ready for, people themselves were hiring searching firms for a new coach, but obviously that didn't turn out. But was there any sort of indication that was coming?
Yeah, the indication was Luther Burden moving to the slot, being the number 1 slot receiver. I mean, that was you putting him in the position to get more catches. That was how you knew that the offense was going to be better. I mean, Luther Burden came in as the number 1 wide receiver. I don't have to go through his history. We all know it. But I mean, a lot of people were afraid after his freshman year. I mean, he racked up the touchdowns, but he only had 385 receiving yards, a lot of drop passes. But you give that guy a whole season to improve and then another off season on top of that to catch the football. I mean, how is that guy not going to succeed? And now I love to see it. Every single top returning position starters, it's Ollie Gordon, Luther Burden are the 2 that are always going to be on there. I think it's really exciting. Honestly, Luther Burden, I've even seen him projected as number 1 pick. He's a receiver that will win you ball games, and he did this past year for Mizzou. He has the most balance out of any athlete, any football player I think I've ever seen in my life. The way that he breaks tackles isn't normal. Honestly, that's the best way to put it. If he gets hit, he just knows how to move his body so he won't fall over. I've never seen that before in my life. And him being able to do that pretty consistently throughout the season was really fun to watch. And I think Brady Cook as well, it kind of goes back to the confidence thing as well. He just improved as a passer, and with that came this swagger that we didn't know Brady Cook had. And I think them returning with the same offensive coordinator, with more coming back, I think that's probably the most impactful part of this offseason is not losing him. I mean, head coaching job opened up at Boise State. He played football at Boise State. The fact that he stayed with Mizzou to be the offensive coordinator, I think speaks a lot about the program and speaks a lot about the talent around him. And last year, Mizzou had one of the best receiver rooms. This year, their receiver room is going to be better with Crutchfield and Madison coming in. Like, there could be some freshmen making some crazy plays. Luther Burden's probably the front runner for the Blitnikoff Award. I mean, I don't see a world where this offense really takes any steps back.
Let's talk about Madison. I think this is a good pivot point now. Kind of a fun conversation. Adam, you seemed like the James Madison reporter last season. You had like everything on him. I think he had a hamstring injury. He came up
Yes, he did.
lame on a run, and you knew about it. Seemed like you talked to his dad a little bit, and some of those quotes were in your articles. What can the Tigers just expect from James Madison as a player and as a person?
Yeah, so first off, from Drinkwitz and from his dad, James Madison is the best recruit they've ever seen. He's when Williams Nwaneri was in town, James Madison was right next to him the entire time. When Wingo was in town, James Madison was there talking to him. This guy just bleeds black and gold. He's going to be a guy that fans fall in love with. And he's got some really, really good skills on the football field as well. He's a bigger receiver. If he can fill out his frame, he can be a guy that plays in the slot. He can play outside. He's very diverse, and he's got blazing speed. I mean, if you watch his tape, he's just running away from people. Like, he's very, very good at finding the open field and getting to it before anybody else does. And when he needs to make a cut, he's got a really, really good one cut with his long, lanky build. He's able to kind of put his foot in the ground and change direction quicker than most bigger receivers would. I'm not going to call him he's not like Roma Dunze or anything like that with his size and everything. But he could definitely be a weapon that Mizzou uses. I'm not sure how much he'll get in his freshman season just because of how loaded the wide receiver room is. But come his sophomore, junior, senior year, I think he's probably going to be a 4-year guy for Mizzou. But I mean, the dude's going to bring talent into Mizzou, whether he plays or not. I mean, the two other players from St. Thomas Aquinas and Fort Lauderdale that signed with Mizzou, after Madison talked to Drinkwitz, the first thing he did was send Drinkwitz those guys' tape, and both of them ended up signing to Mizzou. It's a really important pipeline for Mizzou to get into Florida, and I believe they have 5 players this class from Florida. But St. Thomas Aquinas specifically, that's where the Bosa brothers went. That's where a bunch of NFL stars have went. So being able to have that connection now to that team, the two teams that they really are going to be competing with going forward for St. Thomas Aquinas recruits is going to be University of Miami and Florida State. Florida State was the one team that James Madison was still thinking about when he was between Mizzou and in the recruiting process. But being able to have that pipeline into Florida, and we've seen the pipeline into Texas succeed, if Mizzou's able, to capitalize on those 2 pipelines, then the sky's the limit in terms of talent that comes into Mizzou.
I got 2 here. The first one's a very quick one. Did James Madison have the best commitment video you've ever seen? And I'm interested to know what your favorite memory. You got to cover such a great season.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know your favorite memory on the beat.
Did James Madison have the best recruitment video? Are you talking about on the recruit trips?
No, his commitment video. When he announced.
I don't know if he can really top Burdens. I mean, he set a trend of throwing the hat off the stage. But if we're going in terms of all the social media work that Mizzou had done with their recruits coming in, James Madison's topped everybody's. It was amazing. The work that the social media team did, I don't think they get enough credit for what they did. But yeah, Mizzou's social medias were ballistic this year. The mini movies were great. The recruit videos were great. I can't wait to see what they do this summer. I think it's just going to get it even better. And what other schools are putting a mixtape together for your visit? I mean, It's like some ball is life stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, here it is. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can see it. This is what Adam was kind of talking about as well with the commitment video from James Madison. I mean, the guy
that's just hard.
bleeds swagger, it feels like.
Hey, he's just dripping aura. I mean, they've got
That's
presidential
aura,
campaign signs built up for him. I mean, that's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
That's
awesome.
aura. 100% is aura.
Yeah,
Gets it
this
done.
guy drips swag. I think he's gonna. Yeah. Then you put the highlights on there as well.
A man amongst boys. So that's pretty much what James Madison was doing last season. So definitely a bright spot to look forward to and a pretty good run for the Tigers.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I remember when I was talking to James's dad. It was always so hard for me to like source him in an article because it's James Madison and James Madison II. That's besides the point. But when Drinkwitz went down there, when they had their little break before the Cotton Bowl, he was on the sideline, and the entire time his dad said he was just yelling, "Feed Prez, feed Prez," and they did that. He had like 3 touchdowns or something like that. But yeah, no, just a good kid. Loves football. Loves Mizzou. From Kansas City originally, went to Florida to just get better competition. Can't blame him. But yeah, he's coming home. Oh, best memory. Man, there's some good ones. K-State field storming was something insane to see. Being up in the press box for that. Somehow my video was the one that like people watched, even though it was recorded on an iPhone XR, and like everybody around me had 15s or better. So I don't know. Shout out to Fox College Football for getting me that juice, but I think probably overall experience, the Cotton Bowl was unbelievable. They had a massage chair that I think I was on for like probably a total of 4 hours. That was awesome. They had a Space Invaders game that was probably the size of the size of a story tall. So that was pretty sweet. Food was insane. And then man, AT&T Stadium, if you ever have the chance to go there, like please do. I think it's the best football atmosphere I've ever been in. Being able to be down on that field pregame, talking to Pat McAfee, talking to Kirk Herbstreit, seeing all of these like insane players, even like seeing Marvin Harrison Jr. was awesome. But yeah, I think that was probably the most overall fun I had was that Cotton Bowl experience.
Yeah. I wish I could have traded spots with you. Got the 6-6 season, and then I went to Tampa, Florida, right before Christmas. So it was fun. But you definitely got to live the better season. We were at the game. We can attest to that. The atmosphere was incredible. I think it's just so like it's just built so well as well. I think AT&T Stadium is just a perfect build for a football stadium. Well, Adam, you answered all of our questions. You gave us more than we could have ever asked on the Mizzou football players going to the NFL or chasing those professional aspirations. Can you please let everyone know where they can find you again on X and find your work at the Columbia Missourian?
Yeah, if you're in the Columbia Missourian, just search pretty much Mizzou football or Adam Ryerson. You're going to be able to find a lot of the stuff that I do. If not, you're going to find some great stuff from all the other reporters. Definitely worth the read. X Adam Ryerson _. Not too much Mizzou football post going on right now, but I'm a good follow. I had a good one that I thought was going to get more juice yesterday. Water fountains are just dog bowls for humans. I stand by that fact. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not. I'm never wrong, actually. So, yeah. Adam Ryerson _ on Twitter. And, I'll be keeping up with the Mizzou football news, post-grad, and all that stuff. And stay tuned for what's next.
Yeah, excited to see what's next for Adam. Everyone go follow him. He does have some funny tweets. I can attest to that. I read some of them every now and then. But thanks again, Adam. And we hope to have you on whatever job you have next. And maybe we can cross paths and have you back on again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. It was a pleasure.
Go!
Okay, quick hits time. Kenny couldn't record quick hits, like we said in the intro, so I am reading his. We've got jerseys of the week first, and Kenny, his jersey of the week is going to Bogdanovich of the Atlanta Hawks, as you will see in the video playing on screen now without sound. Jesus Christ! Go to the YouTube to look. He got pretty mad at former Mizzou coach Quinn Snyder, who is of course the coach of the Hawks. They were exchanging some pretty heated words about something. I don't know. I don't actually know the context for this, but he slams something on the ground. Got pretty mad. Quinn Snyder snapped back at him a little bit and walked away. But I guess, I don't know. They avoided any further confrontation. Peyton, what do you think Bogdanovich was mad about? I'm sure that was answered, but I didn't look it up.
They were debating waffles and pancakes, and
Oh, yeah?
Quinn Snyder's team waffles. And he clearly said that pancakes are waffles without abs. And Bogdanovich clearly took exception. I have no idea what this debate was about. I'm not a Hawks fan. It's regular season NBA. I don't really care to follow it that much. So it seems like a normal coach player confrontation. They want to win. They're heated. It happens. I'm sure they're best friends now.
17 points a game for Bogdanovich. I just didn't know his stats. I was kind of curious. Now that
Wow.
Kenny controls the screen, and now that I do, I'm just going to start Googling random stuff while I don't know. I have too much power. What do you weigh? Where do you weigh on that side with pancakes or waffles? What team are you?
See, I have only really had, I can't tell you the last time I had a waffle. I've had pancakes a lot more. That's not because I dislike waffles, though. I just kind of don't buy them or anything like that. Maybe I should get some Eggos again because I do like waffles. But I guess, like, I'd have to say pancakes right now because I've had pancakes like probably 20 times since I've last had a waffle. So
I used to be very staunchly pro waffles, and I've come around on pancakes. Pancakes are good too. I did have Eggos this morning though. They're great.
Eggos sound good. I like, you know what? People are going to call me absolutely insane for this, but you know what I used to put on Eggos when I was a kid?
What?
Butter. That's it. No syrup.
Really? No syrup?
No nothing. I didn't put chocolate chip. I didn't get the chocolate chip Eggos. I'd get the plain old circular plain Eggos. Butter. That's my Eggo. And
I used to like these ones, these cinnamon brown sugar ones. These are my favorite Eggos.
I know a lot of people that like the ones on the left or right of it that are like the little, the cinnamon toast ones.
The minis.
The minis. But and I will say there's nothing looks more appetizing breakfast wise than a good old Eggo with butter and syrup poured on top of it. Like, it's an iconic image, I think. But I don't know. Syrup is good on occasion for me. I typically roll without it though.
These ones are also really good. These are so
that
good.
looks too much, man. I can't do it.
It kind of is. They're so
thick
good.
And fluffy and double chocolate.
Yeah, and
dude.
double chocolate.
Nuts. That's nuts.
What's your jersey of the week as I'm looking it up?
My jersey of the week is Stephon Diggs. The very long saga between him and the Buffalo Bills. The kind of look, diva is such a toxic word. It really, like, people use it like too much. I think it's fair to say Stephon Diggs kind of qualifies in that category. He throws temper tantrums when he doesn't get the ball a lot, which was not very often down the stretch of last season. And I don't know. It just was kind of always a whole social media saga between him and the Bills at the end there. And once his play dropped off, I mean, it kind of felt inevitable. It was kind of out of nowhere. Like, I don't think anybody had felt like this was on the horizon, really. But, I mean, it felt like a split was coming eventually. So, yeah, Stephon Diggs is a Texan now. I like that move for the Texans, not because they get Stephon Diggs, but because defenses are still going to give a lot of attention to Diggs. It's going to open up guys like Nico Collins and Tank Dell, who are so talented, Dalton Schultz. Texans are going to be good, man. I like that trade for them. I like it for the Texans. I like it for the Bills. I think the Bills had to move on at a certain point. Yeah, all around good trade for both, I think. I don't think there's any issue. Maybe Diggs will be happier there. I don't know. He's kind of had ugly exits at both Minnesota and Buffalo now.
I'm sad Kenny's not on for quick hits for this because this is his Texans. I mean, that's like it's got to be top 3 wide receiver rooms in the league now with Tank Dell and Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs.
Definitely has to be.
I mean, and they have CJ Stroud. He was the best rookie last season. It's exciting stuff. I don't know. I've enjoyed this. Has just dropped on Wednesday when we're recording this, and I've enjoyed the memes of like Josh Allen. This is Josh Allen next season. It's a guy like throwing a bomb and then running and catching it himself. I don't know what they're gonna do. They've lost so much in the offseason.
Yeah,
but congrats to the Texans. Congrats to Kenny. Maybe he'll be a Super Bowl champ here when we're recording this next February. He can have a banner. But yeah, Stephon Diggs, Houston Texan, big move in the NFL. I'm going back to college basketball for my jersey of the week. I'm going Bronny James because he's, as you can see, planning on entering the transfer portal. I don't think he's officially entered yet, but On3 is reporting that he's planning on entering. He's posted himself, I believe, in, correct me if I'm wrong, Peyton,
the fake
I know
account.
There's a West. It was
fake
the fake account? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, never mind. There was a fake account posting him in jerseys, and I was like, there's no way he's tweeting these.
This is also
like
I will say LeBron got asked about it, and LeBron said, yeah, Bronny's got tough decisions to make. We'll support him with whatever. So I don't know if it's actually an official thing that he even is planning to enter. But
maybe
I mean, it was a legit got ahead of the game. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a guy. It's On3 aggregation. I mean, they were taking it from that Hoops Weiss guy. So
yeah,
and Dick Weiss is a legit reporter. That
he's covered basketball for 8,000 years, so I believe him. Well, if he enters the transfer portal, I mean, it's. I think Evan Maya tweeted that he would be. I think it was like the 89th ranked transfer in the portal. So I don't know what that really means for his future, but maybe that Mizzou Photoshop needs to come back. We need to have maybe we need to get Bronny over to Como. That'll get him right before the NBA.
Hype, wouldn't it?
Would we get LeBron?
That would be hype. I'm sure we'd get LeBron at a game.
He has eligibility.
I don't think LeBron is eligible anymore.
He can't come back as a grad transfer.
In the rule about playing in the NBA for probably 21 years probably saps your eligibility.
All right, fair enough.
It's rain on your parade, but
yeah, but whatever. I'd take Bronny. He wasn't great, but like he also, it's a very unfortunate. Like, you know, he had the cardiac arrest in the summer. Like that's a hard thing for any player to recover from. And on top of being LeBron's kid at USC, a team that was full of injuries. I don't know.
He kind of needs. I kind of think the idea of Bronny just going to a bit of a less. He shouldn't go to a blue blood. He should go somewhere a bit more modest. Like Ohio State legitimately would be a decent fit if he were to enter the portal. A Missouri type school makes sense for him. I'm not saying Missouri would even reach out, but like just kind of like a high major that's like not Hollywood, not a blue blood, somewhere he can kind of just like go get a little out of the spotlight. I think that's kind of what's best for him. USC is Hollywood. I don't think he needs to be at USC.
Sounds like Missouri is the perfect fit, is what I'm hearing. We'll see. We'll see in Como, Bronny. Peyton, you need to play the sound effect because I'm not on it. Go find
Sean, it's
I like no capping. He's the main bird.
He's the main bird. Shawnee's main bird of the week.
And Kenny's Shawnee's main bird of the week is Sean East.
No,
and
like
that's because
he's the main bird.
It's Sean East himself.
As Kenny's main bird. That's because Shawnee is going in the what's that right
Sean
there?
East at practice.
What's that right there?
Sean East is going to participate in the Reese's Division I All-Star game. So that's pretty cool. It's going to be at State Farm Stadium in Phoenix where not where the Final Four is, but where the Final Four is. That's in the Cardinal Stadium. Yeah, pretty cool. He's going to be in the college All-Star game. I think on what is this? The West team? Yeah, West team. There's the roster on screen now. some good names there, but I think Sean Easty can take. Oh, he's
He's on
playing with Casey
Casey's team.
Tominaga.
Yeah, he's
I
on
didn't even
Casey's
notice
team.
that. That's
Jesse
electric.
Edwards. I mean, Jalen House, Tyler Perry. I mean,
I'm a
that's a
big
good
Tyler Perry
team.
guy. This is a good team.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sean East is playing in the Division I All-Star game. It's pretty.
I would love to know what the selection process is here. Like, how
Jack
do they
Golke.
come up with these teams? Yeah, like, why is like Jack Golke like someone
Pember.
named Jordan King? Like Drew Pember is on this team. How do they pick these?
Not sure.
And that like Sean East like didn't even get all SEC honors. Like, I don't quite understand the selection
But
process.
at least he was the
I
best
am
player
happy
on his team. Like Gabe McLaughlin
he
wasn't.
was. Yeah, exactly. Very odd selection criteria, but I'm happy for Sean East. It's a cool event. Weren't Demoy and Kobe on like in this game last year? I think Demoy was.
Demoy did the 3-point contest, didn't he?
Or
the dunk
Yeah, and
contest?
Golston was no, it wasn't the dunk. It was definitely 3-point.
Okay.
There's no way
Yeah,
he was in dunk.
He was in the 3-point. Wasn't DeAndre Golston in something, or was he just there?
Yeah, I thought him and Sternberg were there, but I don't know if they were.
They might have
like,
just been watching. I don't think
Golston
Kobe.
was
I think part of this is like probably any NBA bound guys don't do this just because they don't want to get injured.
Yeah, so I don't know. Interesting game, but good for him.
Yeah, good for Sean East. He'll be in the college. I'm going to the Final Four, so I will probably go to this just because now he's in it. I can go watch him. So I'll take some.
Very
video
nice
from the account.
Very nice.
Peyton, what's your main bird?
Oh, my main bird, former Atlanta Hawks assistant and current Arkansas and soon to be
USC?
former Arkansas head coach Eric Musselman. I mean, he's about to leave, folks. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, Andy Enfield, the USC head coach, was hired away by SMU, and now USC is now attempting to hire away Eric Musselman. I mean, they had him in for the interview. John Rothstein tweeted this morning that he was kind of the focus of their search. He's the primary candidate. There's been kind of rumors about things bubbling beneath the surface with Musselman at Arkansas the last 2 years. I mean, yes, they made the Sweet 16 2 years ago, like 2 seasons ago, but it was a very bad year. I mean, it was just kind of them getting hot at the right time. He was 10th in the SEC with 3 guys that got picked in the NBA draft. Like, it's been a bad showing for him lately. It came apart this year. It's just a weird situation too, because Hunter Yurachek, the Arkansas AD, he posted a video of him and Musselman, like almost he's staying video. It was like Yurachek getting on a bus. Muss was the driver of the Muss bus. And he said, "Buckle up!" And Yurachek went, "You're still here?" But then like a week later, Yurachek gets on a podcast or something like that. And he says, "Yeah, no, we haven't extended him or anything. He's well compensated already. We're not gonna give him a raise." And then he like explicitly said, like, yeah, he's still the head coach right now. He could leave. Like he basically just all out says that. It's a very weird situation. Long story short, Eric Musselman is like almost certainly gone. Like he'll probably be taking the USC job. Thank God, he's one of my least favorite probably my least favorite coach in the conference. I found him totally annoying. He was kind of like falling apart though, so I don't know if maybe I wanted him to stay. So we'll see what Arkansas does at that head coaching position. I know like a lot of their fans want Chris Beard because of course they do. Jerome Tang was someone I saw a lot of people throwing out. We'll see what happens. I think Musselman leaving kind of proves it's not the job they think it is. Arkansas is a very mid-tier SEC school at its very peak. I think Arkansas fans need to get that through their skull.
Yeah, I was actually talking to, I was in the Denver airport and I was talking to an Arkansas fan. Talked to me about stuff, but we were talking about Eric Musselman, and I know Peyton, you and I talked about him being linked to the SMU job. I brought that up, and he was like, yeah, I think he's going to stay. He's built the program well, on to keep building it. So I don't know how that guy's feeling now, but yeah, might be the end for the Must Bus. What other names did you say? Jerome Tang and who?
Chris Beard was one I saw fans wanted. Somewhat, they said they could get Todd Golden. A couple of them. Todd Golden would not leave
No
Florida
chance.
for Arkansas.
No
Please
chance.
stop it.
Todd Golden is. I'll put this prediction out right now, and I'll recycle it when Florida's a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament in 2 years. Todd Golden's building something down there. He's a good coach.
I don't think he's going to stick at Florida, though. I think he's going to leave.
You don't think?
No. I think
After
a bigger...
like now?
I think a blue blood... No, not now, but down the road, like before I think Florida can become a powerhouse, I would think someone will hire him.
I don't know.
But we'll see.
Maybe they'll get the...
Florida is an underrated job, I guess we got to remember. Like, Billy Donovan won national titles there, so...
Back-to-back. UConn's trying to do what they did. I don't know.
Joe Kim Noah.
But yeah, hopefully they mess up to hire Arkansas. But I will also be glad to see the Must Bus no longer in the SEC and Missouri's rival. My main bird of the week goes to, of course, the Hawkeye legend, the greatest Hawkeye legend. It's Caitlin Clark. If you didn't watch this game, I'm sorry. I pity you because it was a phenomenal game. Iowa and LSU, of course, the rematch of the national championship from a season ago. They played for the Final Four, and Caitlin Clark just stole the show. She had 41 points. They beat them 94-87. She went 9 for 20 from 3, which is just like, she's just insane. She's so much fun to watch. Just women's basketball Twitter was just at an all-time high with Haley Van Lith, the guard from LSU, and her just getting cooked because she had guard Caitlin Clark, and Caitlin Clark made 3 after 3 after 3. There was one clip where she hits one and Haley Van Lith is just shrugging because she has no idea how to defend Caitlin Clark, just like anybody. This is awesome. I'm glad Iowa's rolling on to the Final Four, and hopefully she can get a national title. Did you watch game, Peyton?
Yeah, of course I did. I mean, it was the most watched women's basketball game probably ever. It had 12.7 million viewers, which there were some incredible stats like that. Outdrew all but one game of the NBA Finals last year. I mean, it was more watched than all the World Series games. Like, women's college basketball has never been a bigger product than it is right now. It's really kind of established itself. And I mean, it's a legit, like, games like this prove it's a legit product. Like, it is like very much worth your time to invest in. Caitlin Clark was absolutely ridiculous. I've never seen a player like Caitlin Clark, and I mean, it's not a hot take to say that, but it was ridiculous. I do wish Angel Reese didn't get hurt. I think it robbed us a little bit of what the game could have been, because she was not very good after that. I don't blame Haley Van Lith for
still had 17 and 20 rebounds.
Yeah, but I mean, it was on 7 of 21, and there wasn't one 3-point attempt in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really blame Haley Van Lith for not being able to guard Caitlin Clark, because nobody can. I don't care what people say. You go over a screen if you want on Caitlin Clark. She will beat you. She is a walking 30-point night. Haley Van Lith's real curse she should stop shooting the ball like all the time. Like, it was really bad. She went 2 for 10. You could feel every one of those 8 misses in your soul. Like, they were so soul-crushingly bad. Yeah, and I mean, also shout out to, like, Iowa's co-stars. Kate Martin was great. Falter was great. If they get contributions from those two like that in the Final Four, they're going to be hard to stop. I still think South Carolina ultimately probably wins it all, because Dawn Staley is just... she's insane. She is the best coach in the sport, but I think it'd be a great story if Iowa could win it all.
Yeah, it would be fun. That is the difference, is like that's what like Caitlin Clark didn't get enough of in the championship game last year, was that like the help. She needs the co-stars, and yeah, she's got them in the tournament. They were talking about that at halftime. But yeah, hopefully they can I'm kind of pulling for them. You mentioned the star power. There's another thing I wanted to pull up. This is the class of 2020 rankings, the top 5 for women's basketball in 2020. Number 1, Paige Beckers. Number 2, Angel Reese. Number 3, Cameron Brink, who's at Stanford. Number four, Caitlin Clark, and number 5, Camila Cardozo, who is at South Carolina now. So that's, you have Angel Reese in there, and then Clark, Beckers, and Cardozo, who are all the best players on Final Four teams. If that's not a recruiting class living up to the hype, I don't know what is. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it genuinely changed the sport because I think it made people realize like this is a legit good product. Like those are genuinely like sport changers. Like we're getting Beckers versus Io versus Clark in the Final Four, and that's going to be a game I watch 100%.
Box office. That's Friday. Those games, I think.
I don't remember that for sure. That sounds right.
It's either Friday or Sunday. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's so fun. I love that we have like. It's just nice to have like I don't know. I'm glad we have kind of like not necessarily a hero villain arc, but you can put it to whoever you want. Like some people hate Caitlin Clark. Some people love Caitlin Clark. Some people love Angel Reese and LSU. Some people hate Angel Reese and LSU and Kelky and all that stuff. And it's just fun to have like the divide and like that just makes it so much more, entertaining to root for that. There's all these just great characters. They're marketed so well. And the future of women's basketball is in good hands. The WNBA needs to figure it out and figure out how to make their games as box offices as the college level.
Because right now women's college is leaps and bounds in front of the WNBA in terms of popularity.
Yeah. It's more, I was talking to some of my friends last night who are more casual sports fans. Like my friend was like, I couldn't tell you any men's superstars besides like Zach Edey, but I know Caitlin Clark, I know Angel Reese, I know Paige Beckers. Like, so it's in a good place. It's in a good place.
Right. No, the star power in women's is certainly better. I still would say I think the men's tournament has been by and large a bit better just because it's been a bit more chaotic because like that's what I personally love about the tournaments is that teams just go on crazy runs. There's an 11 seed in the Final Four in NC State with like the fun stars of the show on that team. So I think the tournament has been overall better on the men's side, but the Final Four on the women's side, I think, is certainly much better.
Yeah, that's going to be excellent. I'm excited for it. Peyton, what did you learn this week?
Best thing I learned this week, and Anthony Rendon, man. The long heralded saga. I don't know if this is true anymore because this was a couple days ago, but up until April Fool's Day, a baby, this is a tweet from Jay Hay Kid, Jayhyhay Kid. It's a tweet about Anthony Rendon, the embattled Angels third baseman who just does not care about baseball. He got paid and now he just doesn't care. It's pretty pathetic. I'm not going to lie. I would be really frustrated if I was an Angels fan. He's been really bad. He's been dealing with injuries. It had been so long since he had got a hit for the Angels that Nugget Chef tweeted this. A baby could have been conceived and born in the time since Anthony Rendon's last hit, July 3rd, 2023, almost exactly 9 months. That was tweeted April 1st. I'll do a little research if he has gotten a hit since that. But yeah, they're paying him like over $100 million. He's been absolutely horrible. He didn't get a hit. Oh,
he hasn't got a hit. I was going to look it up too.
Oh, he had a walk and he scored, but he did not get a hit.
I love tweets like this.
Yeah.
Tweets like this are funny when it's just like when the amount of time between, when an event can happen and equating it to something like this, like a baby being born.
He's reached base once in his 20 plate appearances on a walk.
Jesus.
Really bad.
Again, I'm not super familiar, but he just got paid a while back and he just openly does not seem to want to
No, I mean, he like legitimately said baseball's like, he just views it as a job. Like he doesn't talk about like any sort. He doesn't have any passion for it really. He's like, does it for a pay. He had some off-season interview. He talks about wanting to shorten the season a lot. It's just like, he does not enjoy playing baseball, I don't think, which it's a shame. He was really, really good when he was a national, but he got that contract from the Angels, and it's just maybe a lot of that has to do with injuries. I mean, it can really take a toll on someone when you get hurt as often as Anthony Rendon does. I mean, he has his priorities right. I mean, he did say in that same interview, like, his family's most important to him. But, I mean, you don't also have to totally lambaste the sport you play when you say that type of stuff.
That is tough. Oh, brief breaking news, by the way. Rob Summers is getting paid $240,000 on a 2-year deal. We got that from Colin McAndrew a couple of minutes ago. And Gabe made the good point that $75,000 more than Dickie Nutt was making, which indicates an increase in the assistant pool from when Gates was hired. So there's just some money for you. If you're super invested in that. Yeah. Kenny's best thing he learned. We're going to a friend of the show. It's Troy Johnston. He was the number one play on ESPN's top 10. I'll restart this clip so people can see if they want. Down there with the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, we've been begging for him to get called up for months now, and he did it. He had a mitt throw. He got the out first by tossing the mitt with the ball in it. Just a great heads up play by a man who should be playing Major League Baseball.
Marlins are 0-6 right now. I don't see any reason to not shake some things up. So,
yeah, call this man up. Look at this play. He's got to think on his feet. Heads up play.
The leather.
Come on. How do you not want that on your team? Shout out Troy Johnston. We'll get him back on the show. He's a good friend of the program. He started his own podcast. Kenny talked about that a couple weeks ago.
He did,
so
yeah.
Congrats to him. Hopefully he gets called up soon. Best thing I learned. Peyton, you mentioned the men's NCAA tournament being fun. I've got some conspiracy theories to share with you. I think I shared this on a show a bit ago. The main one I wanted to talk about is actually not this, but I just wanted to point out this graphic from Jay Kuda who talked to Purdue and their foul discrepancy. Did you know Zach Edey, Purdue center, has never fouled out of a game in his college career?
I did. I don't think I knew that. I probably would have guessed it.
It's ridiculous. This Purdue gets it rigged. The NCAA wants the scriptwriters. The scriptwriters, they want Purdue in the national championship. It's a total farce. That's one conspiracy theory that I guess more I just have because I don't like Purdue. But the main one I wanted to talk to you or to mention, Peyton, have you seen this stuff with the overinflated basketballs?
I have not. No.
There's a guy who's been posting about how the basketballs in certain regions are overinflated, and that's why a lot of the shots are going long. He talked about like Dallas, the region in Dallas, having the most overinflated balls, and then it had the worst 3-point percentage. Talked about that being why Marquette lost to NC State. There's some inflate gate, I guess. I according to let me try and find the video. I wish I liked it, but I don't know. Inflate. What should I look up? Like inflated basketballs. NCAA tournament. Let's see if I can find the video.
That's too wordy. Don't add NCAA tournament.
All right, we'll try inflated basketballs. This is like a thing from Alex Fairman. He said the balls are overinflated, which leads to bad 3-point shooting. Most players don't want to speak up because fans will crush them for making excuses. It's not excuses, it's the truth.
But do these guys have proof?
I don't know. He was talking about the 3-point percentage being bad.
Do they? Or is there any proof? Or it could be anything for bad 3-point shooting.
It could be.
This is the thing about conspiracy theories.
Well,
okay, most of them suck.
His proof was like his proof was the whole thing. It was like the balls were going and they were hitting the back iron. They were traveling along. There was a lot more long air balls, which indicate like because the ball travel farther when it's more inflated.
That
also
seems really pseudoscience-y.
It probably is. It probably is nothing. Because I do see the point where it's like no one, even if it is true, no one's going to speak up because it's going to be like you're just making an excuse for bad 3-point shooting. Also, if all the balls were overinflated and that is leading to 3-point shooting, how is Alabama in the Final Four? Because they were shooting really well.
Right.
So,
and I mean, you need like a smoking gun for this to work. Like you need the Tom Brady like text messages going missing. Like you need that type of stuff for this to work.
The only thing I will say is there was the thing in the women's tournament with the 3-point line. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think everyone saw that.
So I don't know. it is embarrassing. They messed that up. They could mess up the basketballs. Like maybe they weren't. That was the whole thing the guy said. He was like, maybe they're not doing it on purpose. They just don't know.
You would notice something like that. I mean, someone complained about the 3-point line, and that's how we figured that out. And like the teams agreed to just play.
Yeah.
Like the basketball thing, like during Deflategate, like a Colts linebacker, I remember, like I forget his name. If I saw it, I would know it.
Hang on.
He like made it known to the refs, like these balls are a bit like too deflated, like something like that. Like not that it mattered. They won 45-7, but and there was like actual evidence that like that things were messed with. This is just a guy saying, I had Marquette in the Final Four and they shot really poorly. So clearly the balls are just overinflated. Because the NCAA definitely stands to gain a lot of money from NC State making the Final Four.
Bad shooting percentages.
This is the video I found, but he just talks about in Dallas, the difference in shooting percentage of like what was expected. I don't know. He could be making all this crap up, but I don't know.
What would be the point of it? I don't really see.
He's got some evidence, Payton. Look at these shitty shots.
This is just guys
not
losing
handling the ball.
handles. These are guys missing shots and losing handles. You see that in every single basketball. No. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, if you guys can't tell.
Oh yeah, he did talk about his credential as a shooting coach, which was funny. Here's the Caravan quote. Wait, here. It was really short, but it was
this.
I think the ball has too much air in it.
It's really short.
No, this is a bunch of garbage. This is literally nonsense. We are literally making a problem where there is not one. Okay, whatever. Guys lose handles. Like guys shoot long. Like that happens.
I know. I don't think it's anything, but it's been fun that it's a
I
love a good conspiracy.
I think conspiracies are dumb. There's only like
they're dangerous?
Yes, they actually are very dangerous. I think they're dumb. There's like one or two that I can kind of buy into. I'm not going to say them on air, but
dinosaurs,
I'm very
fake?
much
moon landing fake.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe in that conspiracy. I believe people were on the moon. Let me clarify.
Okay, sure.
No, I'm not a conspiracy guy. Conspiracies take so much work, and they very rarely seem to have much of a good point to them.
I don't think we're gonna have an inflate gate situation. I think things are more black and white than people realize. So, with that being said, this one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Knowlton, what did one plate say to another plate? I don't know. I actually can't think of anything.
Dinner's on me tonight.
That was a good one. Why isn't dinner on the other plate? Eating for one?
No idea. Doesn't go into
Meal for
detail.
one.
You can ask Coda.
Yeah, Hoda made that one. Nice. All right. We'll end the show. If the Final Four gets an asterisk over it, you heard it here first. And the 3-point line thing in the women's tournament was embarrassing. That was bad.
That was bad. Yes, but that was a real thing that actually can be proven. I'm like,
all right.
Oh, he missed long. This is stupid. I'm just gonna drop it. Like it's just dumb. I lost like $5 on a bet, and he's like making up Inflategate.
I do these things for Peyton's. I do these things to make Peyton angry.
I don't know. Just people are.
It's for my enjoyment. All right. We'll end the show. Hope everyone enjoyed the conspiracy theory ending. Peyton does not think the moon landing is real. Can confirm. We'll see you guys on Monday. We'll recap. We'll probably recap the Final Four a little bit. Talk national championships because it's big. Men's and women's both events will be good, and any Mizzou news to dive into as well. Maybe we'll have an AD on Monday out of nowhere. That'd be kind of fun. But until then, everyone go enjoy the Final Four weekend. Go watch all the games. That was pretty gross, Peyton. You shouldn't do that on air.
Right. Yeah.
Until then, thank you to BetOnline for sponsoring the show. We'll see you guys Monday.